Hello, my name is Carl Surrey, and this is a video tutorial for Affinity Photo. Now, normally I would find a Photoshop tutorial and I would adapt it for two Facebook groups that I'm members of. But this time I'm going to be sort of remaking an Affinity Photo tutorial. And the original tutorial is this one here, which I will add a link to in the description for this video, and it's to make a logo design from a face image, and it's done by TutsUp. Now, why I personally think this needs to be remade is because the video, there is absolutely no sound whatsoever, so you've got no vocal description telling you what to do, and there's also no written description telling you what to do, and the person who made it zips around the screen with his cursor so fast that it is very hard to keep track of what he's done and when he done it and how he did it. And I think also he's done a few keyboard shortcuts, which doesn't help. And there's also, at the beginning, there are a couple of procedures that he's done before he started recording the video, which obviously there's no mention of, so you may sort of miss what's going on there as well. I can't quite understand why 28 people have liked this so far, but there have been 2 comments, and I'm not going to scroll down and read them because they're not particularly nice. I'm not necessarily having to go at a fellow video maker because it's not nice getting bad comments, even when they might be well intended, but nobody likes being criticised quite that badly. So I thought I'd just try and remake this with a voiceover to help people see what is going on, because it is quite a good effect. But if this person had just made a bit more time to add even just text, I mean, he could still do this if he came to this page and go to the settings, or I think it might be this one here, subtitles. He can add subtitles even after he's loaded up the video to YouTube. So I would suggest, if you do, the person that made this video and you see this, that's what I would suggest you do. I'm hoping, I know he has put a registered trademark here, and I'm hoping that this person will not take offence by what I'm doing. It is not meant as an offence, it is a well-intended remake of his video. So I will just quickly start this video, and you will. So he does also, it does say at the beginning that there is no sound. Now let me just pause that there. Now, as I'm going to show you before, he has done a couple of things beforehand that are not necessarily obvious. The first being that, although he's opened the image background, he's also made a white background below it, and where this gentleman's thumb was, he's cloned that out to cover it up, to sort of make the beard disappear. So those things were done before the video even started, so it doesn't bode well for sort of the rest of the video. So let me go back to Affinity Photo. Now, as it would have it, I should say, I found the actual photograph because I went to Pixabay.com to just find a picture of a man with a beard to try and recreate this, and this image was there. So I can even use the same image, and I will be adding the link to this image as well to the description for this video. So the first thing I need to do is recreate the 2 things that were done at the beginning before the video that I'm copying even started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new pixel layer and come to the flood fill tool and flood fill that with white, and then I will click and drag this layer below the background, and I'm also going to click on the padlock icon just to lock that so I can't alter it by mistake or what have you. Don't necessarily have to do that, but I'm doing that. Right, coming back to the proper background image, just need to clone out this thumb. So I'm going to come to the clone brush tool. I'm going to hold down Alt and click to select an area to clone from, and then just get a rough looking beard. Don't have to be too precise because we're just going to select that area. Yes, that'll do. Just come off that tool so I don't accidentally clone something else. Right, so what now we need to do, we need to make a selection of just the face, and I'm going to come up to the selection brush tool, and I'm going to make sure it's set to add and snap to edges. The brush size will depend on the image you're using, if you're using your own image, and then just roughly select this area. And don't worry too much if you come outside a little bit, just as long as you've got all of the inside of the face selected, which I think I have. Then come to subtract, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to lower the brush size, and then I'm just going to remove any areas that I don't want. You don't have to be 100% precise for this because we're only having the outline of the face, so it doesn't matter if a few stray hairs or what have you go missing. And then this area down here, and if you do go a bit too much, you can come back to add and let me just lower the brush size a little bit more and subtract. Alright, I think that's good enough. I'll press Ctrl and 0 to come out. And I think I've pretty much got everything I need there. So what I'm going to do now is click on Refine, and this will open up the Refine selection panel. In the original video he changed this to black and white, and then he was zooming in and out. I'm not 100% certain for what reason, but the alterations that he made was he reduced the border width from 10%, which I think is the default, down to 5%, and the ramp he reduced down to -30, and then clicked apply. So we still have our selection area going around the face. Now we just need to duplicate that area on a new layer, and the easiest way to do that is just to press Ctrl and J. So if I just turn off that layer and that layer, there you can see we have the selection of the face on its own layer. Now the next bit in the video for some reason he seemed to sort of copy and paste this new layer, or even cut and paste. I wasn't 100% certain what was going on, and he sort of copied this into another layer above, and I can't really see the need to do that. I don't know why he did that. It may have been on an error on his part that he just didn't go back and alter. So I'm not going to follow that part of the video. I'm just going to carry on from this point here. What he did then was to hide this background image by just taking the tick off there. So you have the face above the white background that we made previously. And then press Ctrl and D to remove the selection area from around the face, and then come to the adjustments, making sure that the background layer is the one still highlighted. Come to adjustments and down to a threshold, and the threshold will change it into a black and white image, and using the slider you can have more black, more white, depending on which way you go. In the video he just reduced it slightly to 46% going towards the left. And I'll just get rid of that. Right, then what he did was go back to the layers panel, and this threshold adjustment layer, I'm going to click and drag it into and make it a child of this background, this face layer, and you know that it is becoming a child of the layer that you want it to, because a blue line will appear, but it will only go as far as the icon here. If the blue line goes all the way across, then it's a separate layer in its own right. You've just moved it below. So let me just click and drag, and as you can see, hopefully that blue line is only coming to the logo. If I come down a bit further, that blue line is now going all the way across, and that would make it a separate layer. So I'll bring it back up again. So as you can now see, that threshold adjustment is now part of this face layer. So now what I want to do, I'll click on this face layer here, and I will right click. Hang on, first of all I need to hide the white layer, and then I will right click this and merge visible. So as only that layer and the adjustment were the ones visible, they will now be merged in their own right at the top. Right, I can now unhide this white layer, but this top layer is still the one that is highlighted, and I'll come to select and select sampled color. Now at the moment it has got an outline around the whole image, but first of all we need to select an area for it to select a color from, and as it is the black that we are after, just need to find a nice dark area and click on that, and as you can see now it is changed from selecting the whole face to just selecting parts of the face. And then I'm going to increase the tolerance like the original video up to 63%. You don't necessarily have to stick to these settings, I'm just trying to stick as close as I can to the original video, and click apply, and then come to the edit menu, click on copy, back to the edit menu and click on paste, and as you can see we now have a new layer made that has the black only area selected, as you can only just about see it in that icon there. So what I want to do now is to hide this pixel layer and this pixel layer, so the only two that are visible are the white background and this newly made layer at the top. And I will come to the I will then press Ctrl and D to get rid of that selection area, come to the move tool, and I can reposition this to wherever I want, which I'll put roughly about there. And then what I need to do is to bring in the image that I want to put into the background, which is this picture. Another picture I got off Pixabay, but I will just copy that and then come to edit and paste. Now this image is much bigger, so I just need to reduce its size. So I'll come to a corner and press Ctrl and reduce the size like that. Press Ctrl and 0 to bring the whole image back to the size of the window. And I just need to again make this layer a child of this pixel layer that is visible, so I'll just click and drag it down. So as you can see, that image is now forming part of the face image. So it's just a case of maybe resizing and repositioning until you get a sort of area that you want displayed inside your logo. So I'm going to try and have this pathway sort of leading down the center of the face like that. But you can have any sort of, you could have a texture or just paint whatever you like to put behind and into the face. I'm losing this eye a little bit, so I may just alter the position so that eye stands out a bit better. Yes, that's quite good there, I think. Right, so now I'm going to click and highlight this top layer, and I'm going to add a curves adjustment. Just to sort of maybe darken this up slightly. So I'm just going to drag that down a little bit, maybe just brighten some of those highlights. This is the sort of personal taste thing. You don't have to do this, or you don't have to keep the same sort of positions. You do it specifically to suit whatever image you put into the background. So I quite like it there. So I'll come back to the layers, and again I will click and drag this and make this a child of that top layer. So I now have the curves adjustment and the background inside that top layer there. Okay, so next what we're going to do is to add a bit of text. So I'll come to the artistic tool and I'll just draw out a size that I want and then pick a suitable text. And the one I'm going to use is one called Knox Free. That's because it is a free font that I downloaded from a website called Creative Fabrica. I will add a link to that website so you can look through their sort of many pages of free fonts and designs. I mean, they mainly want you to buy some fonts and designs, but they do have quite a few pages of free stuff that you can download, and I quite like this one. Right, Affinity. Right, let me just reposition and resize that a second. Let's put that there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some spaces between these. Right. So again, just resize this. Right, that will do, I think. So once you've had your text, whichever font that you're going to use, obviously a bit nice big thick font will probably work best, because we're going to add the picture again to the text like we did to the logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this background image here. I'm going to copy that, come to the text and paste that in, and then make that a child of the text layer, and then just resize, reposition, so you get the look you're after. Like so. And then the same with the curves adjustment. I will copy that, highlight the top layer, paste that adjustment in, and then click and drag that as a child to make it the same color, tonal range as the image that is behind the face. So basically that is the end of the tutorial. I'm hoping the original maker is happy with what I've done, and I'm hoping that everybody else has enjoyed this or has got some good ideas from this. So thank you for watching. All you need to do now is to export and save this image. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.